And I just got this thought that it's just like, as soon as you have everything you could ever want, the only thing you ever realized is that you wanted was more.
Welcome to the B-Pod. I'm your host, Louis B., and today we are joined by world traveler Devin Shook, who is going to explore meaningful work, a journeyer's mentality through life, and the importance of laughter. So thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you. All right, welcome into the B-Pod. My name is Louis B., and I'm really pumped to be here today with Devin Shook. And Devin, the first question I have for you is, where are you?
Right now, I'm in a small town in the Czech Republic called Litomyjice. It's about 40 minutes to an hour north of Prague, about an hour east of the German border, from a town called Dresden. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but yeah, real charming area. A lot of castles around. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. I'm in Stevens Point. It's like 40 degrees and kind of rain, sleeting, and everything. So, but it's a nice town in itself. And I just want to start by saying the reason that Devin's on today is because the other day I got a call out of the blue. I knew this guy when I was younger, and you've been around the world, Devin. I haven't seen you in probably over 5 years, but I just want to share with you, even Devin, that when you contacted me the other day, I was literally like composing a poem about fear because I was just experiencing this crushing fear. I was working, washing my truck. So I'm going to read the piece that I was working on when you called.
Nice.
Here it is. Fear it is, this fear. Capital F, fear that only flies on the periphery, never troubling itself with the comings or goings of the mundane. Fear with a gravity of its own. My back is to a wall, my body pressed helplessly to my mattress, and I cannot move. Well, I can, but it's getting harder. How many fuck yous do I have left? How many more crippling gravity attacks before I give in to whatever deep state machine has its hand on the button? It's 1984, I'm Winston Smith, and Orwell knows I'm dead. The reader knows I'm dead. I know it too. I am, after all, the last man. My kind is extinct, and I am alone. But the killing itself is what makes it worth reading, right? But still, I'm tired and I can't really move. Maybe I'll give in to the fear in the mattress and cash in my fuck yous for a closet full of button-downs and a mouthful of yes sirs. Maybe it's time. This fear, man. But just then, literally just then, my phone rings. A long-lost friend from a sailboat in Croatia who literally tells me that he believes his purpose in this world is to remind uptight people how to have a good time. And in doing so, reminds me that I am not the last man, and maybe I can wait and cash it in another day. So that's what you did for me, man, and it's crazy because I was literally like crushed by fear, and you call from a sailboat and tell me my purpose in this world is to show people how to have a good time. And so, like, just so you know, like, you did it, and I appreciated that. It was some common sense because sometimes I feel like I'm the last man out here, you know? And if you have any reflections on that, or if you want to do a little bit of a kind of bit of how you got to be where you are, but yeah, talk about that. Talk about your purpose in the world at this moment.
Yeah, you know, that's pretty cool. That was really interesting timing. I didn't know you were working on that. Yeah, you know, to be honest, man, like I've actually, you know, kind of been watching a lot of your stuff too, and recently I just had to part ways with my job because I'm living in a different country now, and I can't work for a U.S. company, and you know, I really kind of found myself kind of tied down in a job that I guess I wasn't really too happy with or whatever, you know. And
so what happens to you when you are on the grind? Like when you are in that job that's not working, like physically, mentally, emotionally, what does the grind feel like for you? I'm curious about that.
I guess I have like a real weird motivation to do like a really good job. So, yeah, it's kind of stressful, you know, in that like, so like I'll definitely work to like burn to like the point where I get pretty burnt out, and then I really start to think like, man, what was all that, what I put all that work in for, you know? Like I got nothing really out of it other than the sense of, you know, a little bit of accomplishment, but I didn't get any like extra pay for it or really any extra recognition. And that isn't this. If I'm doing something that I'm enjoying, then I'm also going to bring that enjoyment is going to kind of reflect off myself, and it's going to be put onto others, I guess, in a positive way.
And really, and like you said before, when you do something that's fulfilling for you, it's a service to yourself, but it's also the service to the community. Because you can, and really, I mean, I've met guys. There are IT people out there. There are people that are built for IT, and if you're not one of them, and maybe you can fake it. Maybe you're a guy that can pretend to be, doing the IT thing, but.
Yeah, no, that's super true. Because like the job that I was just doing that I just had to leave, the guy who trained me, he was definitely one of those IT guys, and he just loved doing the job. Like pretty much the entire time, aside from wanting to complete the task, I was just like, man, I gotta do something different. Like this is just not who I am, and yeah, but like once you start to get that paycheck and you're doing that same thing, like, and you get in that comfort zone, it's so easy to not like to lose focus of maybe where you're trying to get to.
Is it easy? Have you had that experience that you can lose focus on?
Oh yeah, it was like maybe for 7 months. I mean, the entire length that I had that job, I was just hyper focused on only doing that job. And honestly, I didn't even like. I sort of got like I didn't just quit the job. I sort of got pushed out because they found out that I was in a different country.
Right.
So if it wasn't for getting pushed out, I would still like definitely be doing that job and thinking about how am I gonna get out of this job, which is like a real strange thing, Like why wouldn't, like, you could just easily quit, or you could just easily just say no. But it's also at the same time just so easy to just continue to do the comfortable thing.
Yeah, and it is crazy to where it kind of becomes your world, and it's like those are the parameters of your world then.
Right.
And if you're actually able to do a good job, then you start saying maybe I am an IT guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like, oh man, I guess maybe I am a data analyst. And I was just thinking, like, sometimes I'll put on my computer glasses and be like, yeah, I'm starting to get the look now.
It's sad. And dude, and you know what? I have painted on my wall as a reminder. We all become what we pretend to be, and there's only so long I think that a person can sit and pretend to be an IT guy before they become an IT guy,
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, since you're pretty fresh off it, like, health-wise, what happened? Where are you now versus where are you when?
Honestly, man, like
what happened? What was the transformation when you lost the job and kind of recovered from that blow?
So this is actually something I've been thinking about quite a bit. I feel awesome. Like, it feels like there's just like been this like weight that's been lifted off my shoulders, and it's just like it's refreshing, and I just kind of feel like whole again almost. I feel super good. I feel like my physical state also is just like I go to the gym quite a bit, and I've noticed like my ability to do certain things in the gym is just like those abilities have increased. My mentality has been pretty positive over the last 3 weeks. I mean, I did just get back from a sailing trip, so that's probably also pretty helpful. But and then that was also just really really good release too. Just right after all that, I did something that I really enjoyed, and it's something that I might try and pursue as a career as well. But it was overall, it was just like a really good learning process, and I think that was something that also really helped. Is I got an opportunity to learn something again, where instead of just like doing that same daily routine of print this report, print that report, and crunch the numbers and then send it off, it was it was something new, it was something I enjoyed, and every day there was something new, and every day, like, not every day was perfect, you know. Like we got stormed on, and it was cold, and you know I couldn't feel my fingers at some points, but every day I learned something new, and I was doing something that I enjoyed, and and I think that really there's a lot to say for that, you know.
Absolutely.
So even if you know, even if that isn't like the path that I choose or whatever, you know, I think finding something that's going to fit within my lifestyle is super important, especially when you notice the mental and the physical benefits of not having that pressure of doing something that maybe isn't that it isn't against your natural grain, you know?
Yeah, it's incredible. And the reason I ask is because I experienced that too, where all of a sudden I'm just having these days that are so productive. You know, once I was doing things for myself instead of for somebody else, and all of a sudden I look and it's like 2:30, and I'm like, damn, if I didn't get fired, I would still be in the office. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead, I'm out here just kicking ass. Like, you know, our brains and bodies are just, it's incredible the capacity we have. And once you actually like employ that on stuff that it makes sense for you to employ it on, holy shit. You know?
Right. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. And you've traveled as much as anybody I know, and I'd be curious, like, okay, so there's the word travel, you know, and I think that a lot of people, I've had the experience that a lot of people put it on a pedestal, you know, and really it's just you in a different place. You know?
Right.
It's like
right,
all you gotta
yeah.
do, you gotta buy a plane ticket, that's it. And go.
Right.
But as a guy who's traveled, I'm just curious about, like, maybe within the realm of the business or outside of it, but like, what does that word even mean to you as a guy that's been practicing it for so long? And it is a practice, right?
You know, I guess I've started to maybe associate travel also with the word journey. And we just got a dog recently, and like when I take this dog for walks, it just kind of slowed my life down a little bit more. Maybe is a good way to put it too. So with travel, it's not just about like going to another country or another city. I think it's a lot about the journey too, and those experiences that you get along the way. So my point about the dog is just like every little thing that we walk by, she has to stop and sniff and sniff and sniff, and I'm just like, sometimes I just find myself like, come on, dog, let's go, like let's get to where I'm trying to get to, and then I'm just like, you know, like what's the point of just trying to get there? Like we got to enjoy those smaller things along the way too, you know, and like or those struggles, you know, like I might not have found myself in the position that I'm in right now if I wouldn't have had to, you know, do some data analysis. Like maybe it wasn't my favorite thing, and you know, I'm grateful that I had that opportunity or whatever, and I'm happy I'm also out of that, but and there's going to be another opportunity coming, but. Yeah, I think that's kind of what travel means for me. It's what it's grown to mean for me. It's not just going from point A to point B or going to a new place. It's about all the little experiences along the way.
Right, and yeah, like every time I've come back from travel, the story is always about some person. You know, the story is always about some person that I met, and I hear a lot of Americans have this thing where it's like, we did Budapest and we did the river and we did. It's like, it sounds like you just like literally molested a country, you know? And it's just this biography of events, and it's just like, okay, did anything real actually fucking happen, you know? And and it's kind of this speed, and I'm curious. You mentioned slowing down, and so I don't know when the last time is you've even been in America, but I know that some cultures are much slower than America, and I think that I think that part of what we do is we take our compulsiveness when we travel and say, well, geez, obviously if we go to 5 countries, it's better than 4. And just kind of just that a little bit. What have you experienced culturally with regard to the speed, if anything?
So yeah, that's a super good question. So I've noticed, and it's kind of funny when you think about like the term like island life, or where it's just always a little bit slower. I've noticed it's actually like pretty true. Like we just got back from Croatia, and everyone just kind of moves a little bit slower there as opposed to like the way people live in Czech Republic or Germany and Central Europe and stuff like that. And my fiance she's a little bit stressed out sometimes. She's like, I see why nothing gets done here. It's just like, well, I think they're enjoying their life in the way that they want to enjoy it, and it doesn't mean that that's the wrong way to do it. And but she also recognized too that, like, maybe in the Czech Republic where they're moving a little bit too fast or whatever, and also got to slow down and appreciate some of those things. And we've had a lot of deep conversations about that recently, And the thing that kind of cracked me up about the island life thing is we were in Ireland for New Year's, and they also moved very slow, and they're very very cheerful people overall, I feel like, and just kind of really seem to be living in the moment and enjoying life. And I guess kind of when you think about Ireland or whatever, you don't think about it as being so much island life, but it's definitely an island. And it was just interesting to make that comparison, where they also seem to live that island lifestyle and mindset. So I think culture and regional viewpoints, really can make a big impact for sure.
Yeah, there's a sense, I've been picking up on it a lot lately. There's this whole sense of self-improvement, this whole culture around self-help and self-improvement, where everybody feels this pressure to do more and accomplish more, and theoretically, like, well, if I want to be the best IT guy I can be, then I should be right now watching a YouTube video on IT stuff.
That's actually something I've struggled with, I think, over the last few years, especially with learning IT. Because it's such, there's so much to learn, and I would just learn and learn and learn and learn, and actually just like you said, for this last job, because when I first learned IT, I was learning like how to code and stuff like that, and all these different coding languages, and when I took over this data analyst role, it was all like Excel. And so it was like a whole nother thing that I really didn't have a good grasp on, and I just had to watch all these YouTube videos, and yeah, there wasn't a good balance. And now that I don't have my job, and I try, and I'm thinking about all the things that I'm doing now, like taking the dog for a walk and going to the gym and going to a Czech lesson, and trying to work on a project for myself and do housework and keep up with all this other stuff. I'm just like, man, how am I even gonna ever have time for a job? Like, there's so much other stuff to do.
Yeah, but there has to be something, right? There has to be something that can work for both. And I guess one thing, I'm curious how you balance this, because I think for me, the biggest part of the picture that gets talked about too little is the expenditure side of it. Because part of it is that, like, when I'm working a job, making a lot of money, that job kind of makes me miserable, and so hence I spend a lot of money. It's like, well, it's the weekend. It's like, I've been working hard. Like, I'm going out to eat, and I'm spending $60 because I can. And so I end up with no money anyhow, or I just find, like, with the health that comes from being fulfilled and sustained, there's just less that I actually have to buy, and for me, I think that freedom in capitalism is frugality. I think that's where freedom is, and I don't think that gets talked about enough. And
True.
I'm curious, like, as a guy who's traveled, because when you travel, you get to have these liberating moments where you have you own nothing and you have nothing to do, and all of a sudden it's just you in a city, and it's like, holy shit, I'm free. I have my
Right. Yeah.
backpack and that's it.
Yeah. No, that's a super good thing to think about, actually, and the frugality of it is real. Um, so yeah, I think especially now that I don't have a job, that is something that I'm definitely having to keep in mind a lot more. I can't just, you know, I mean, I did just get back from a sailing trip, but uh, I'm not going to be like going to, the restaurants. I mean, I guess I don't really do that too much to begin with. I guess I live a pretty frugal lifestyle. I got a garden.
Nice.
Oh yeah, so we get to live off that a good amount of the year. It's a decent sized garden, and then we do a lot of canning and stuff like that.
Talk a little bit about the fulfillment of that, because I know that the fulfillment of gardening is deep.
Oh man, yeah, it's something I've always wanted, and in moving to Czech Republic, my fiance, she happened to have a house, and that house had a garden, which is actually pretty common for Europe. A lot of people, especially in Czech Republic, I can't speak for all of Europe, I guess, but anyways, yeah, just like getting out in the garden. I like to go out there barefoot and just working with the plants and stuff like that. We got a whole herb garden, and we grow a bunch of tomatoes. And I don't think I even really was a big fan of tomatoes until we started to grow them here. And it's just like we grow like the little cherry tomatoes, and mostly all those like the reds and the oranges and all the like plum tomatoes and stuff like that. And it's just like that can just be your afternoon lunch sometimes. You just go out there and you're just working in the garden, you're just snacking on tomatoes, and they're just it's just something that you grew, and you had to water and kind of take care of, and now it gets to replenish you, and it's yeah, it's super fulfilling, and yeah.
Those are your babies, right? And then it's hard to define. Even it is hard to define, but gardening in itself will set you straight. Anybody, I've never met anybody that wasn't set straight after a couple hours in a garden.
Yeah. If you're having a bad day and you go out to the garden and you just start, even like, I mean, it's not like one of my favorite things to do, or it's not my favorite thing to think about having to do. I think is maybe a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Is to go and pick weeds and stuff like that. And every time I'm just like, man, I got to go pick the weeds. And then I go out there and I start picking out some weeds, and next thing you know, I'm just like, man, picked out all these weeds, and the garden's looking nice again, and yeah, the plants are looking good, and just snacked on some tomatoes or whatever, and I just got some nice sun on the skin, and it was feet in the soil, and just like, man, it's just a super good, and it's like a nice cleansing moment too,
Yeah. Yeah. And if you like with regard to the speed that we live at, like you also have this experience. It's kind of like being around the dog. All of a sudden you're watching YouTube videos on IT stuff, and you get out with the dog, and the dog like scratches a piece of ground and sniffs it, and you're like, what the fuck have I been doing? And it's the same with the garden, because all of a sudden you're running around, you're doing all this abstract stuff, and you get to the garden, it's like, I've spent my time growing this food, and now I'm eating it, theoretically to give me energy to grow more food, and it's this closed loop, and it's like, why have I been doing so much other stuff?
Right. Yeah.
It just is what you need to do.
There's a lot of stuff that you have right at your fingertips, and it's just like, oh, it just, yeah, for real. I was actually, it kind of brought me to think one day too, because I was out in the garden, and I don't know what I was doing out there, but and I was just thinking about how I wanted to buy property and stuff like that, and expand on maybe have a bigger garden or something like that. And I realized this, I got a house here, I got a garden, I got a fiance, like starting a family and stuff like that. It's like, it's supposed to be everything that you should ever really want or need, and I just got this thought that it's just like, as soon as you have everything you could ever want, the only thing you ever realized is that you wanted was more. And if I'm not doing something that I enjoy, like, if I'm not doing something that's helping somebody else or whatever, like, then, well, what's the point,
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly right. Where it's just to recognize, like, we aren't going to do this for forever, and I deal with my time with the utmost seriousness, because I think terms like time management, it's just like, what are you talking about? This is life, and I think that's one of the balances that a guy like you, I'm sure you've thought about this, but it's just like, a lot of people think they're going to wait and travel after they retire with all this money, and you haven't, and you've done a lifetime or a great deal of traveling already. And I'm just curious, like, how do you think about this balance of security versus youthful time?
Because that's a good question. And I've definitely had the opportunity to think about this quite a bit. And sometimes people, I guess, that have been older than me are just like, oh man, yeah, you're super lucky you're doing it right. Like, you're traveling at a young age. That's the way to do it. And I think I've found myself at times where I've thought, like, maybe you're right, but like, I've had to experience some struggles, I guess, because of that. Like, I mean, mostly financially, whatever.
Yeah.
But then also, I've had the opportunity to reflect on maybe. As you grow older, you grow a little bit wiser, and or at least hopefully. I am very grateful that even if I did have struggles financially, that I took that opportunity to travel and travel at a young age, and I think it's totally worth it, because, like, a financial struggle, and this is something I found too, is just like, if I don't have a job now, or if I'm struggling financially, like, I guess maybe I'm fortunate enough where I know that I have the ability to go and learn something and remake that money. Like,
yeah,
I don't like money, I can always make more money.
Right, and yeah, what you said just kind of made me think. Like, one thing I've kind of started to practice is, like, I run some of these decisions past my 12-year-old self and past my 80-year-old self. Like, this kid, that actually sees things a little more clearly than the rest of us. It's like, when I was a kid, I kind of knew what was up. And so I just think, like, what would my 12-year-old self think about me making this decision? Because a lot of things adults do, it just doesn't make any sense. And then, like, the 80-year-old, it's like someday I may be, like, not the self that's, like, on a deathbed, but the self that's, like, kind of incapacitated in some ways, maybe in a home, thinking, with nothing to do but sit and think, like, was it worth it? Did I actually utilize my youth? Because that, for me, that's horrifying, to think of myself sitting someday with nothing to do and realizing I wasted it.
Right. Yeah, 100%. That is a very intimidating thought, and I try to avoid that thought as much as possible, to be honest, because I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole on it, and just like, the whole getting older thing I think it is a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, I read I used to have this book. I used to take it everywhere I went traveling. It was called The Devil's Storybook, and in that book there was a story about it's a series of stories where the devil plays tricks on just different characters or whatever. And there's this one where he grants a wish to, like, 3 different people, and with every wish he grants it, but then he grants it, like, in a manner where it just, like, actually, like, really destroys the person, And so, anyways, he gets this old man, and he says, "If you could wish for anything that you could ever want, what would you wish for?" And then the old man's just like, "Huh, nothing." And he's just like, "Come on, like seriously, like there's something you gotta that you have to want." He's like, "Well, how about your youth? Like, wouldn't you want to be in your 20s again?" And the old man's like, I lived in my 20s, and they're great. I had some hard times, and I had some good times, but I don't think I would want to do that. He's like, "Oh, how about your 30s? Like when you're in your prime, you're doing great in your work. You're just starting a family." And he's just like, "Yeah, that was a good time too, but I don't think I would want to do that. There was also some hard times, and I appreciate the good times." And it goes on and on until the devil just gets frustrated and just leaves him. And the old man just lived out his years, and I guess
I
appreciation.
love that. I love that. And
Yeah,
that's the opposite of what we were talking about with the more thing. You know what I mean? That's like once you take away that concept of more, there you are, where the devil himself cannot get you off your spot. It's like, no, I'm good, But
yeah.
I want to talk. You've mentioned the word fiance and family a number of times. So yeah, man, tell me about your relationship. Who is this person, and what is it that's got you thinking about this whole family thing and fiance thing? Like,
Yeah,
where are you at in your
we
relationship?
I guess we met in 2018 in Yellowstone, actually, and then things just progressed into I guess one thing led to another, and we started to see each other more. And I ended up coming to Czech Republic and visiting, and then she came back to the United States to work for another summer right outside Yellowstone, and then I ended up moving to Czech. And yeah, it's just like it's an interesting. It's very interesting, I guess, because I guess for a long time, like relationships really weren't kind of my thing, and now that I have been in one for 5 years or whatever, wow, yeah, something like that, and you find that you're living with someone that you can laugh with, and you can experience certain. I mean, I guess we have experienced a lot together, and that's, I think, something that really goes a long way, which makes it makes it. I guess it creates that bond and that attachment.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, and then I think there's a lot of hard times throughout relationships and stuff, and a lot of times I maybe even question like, oh, is this where I want to be or whatever, but
hmm
and then you have those laughs, or you go on, you have some special moment again together, and it's just like, oh man, that's why we're doing this. you
yeah. And
know?
it's valid. It's valid to ask the question of whether I want to be doing this. It's a healthy
Yeah,
relationship will have that question. And just like a healthy work life will have that question. Do I actually want to be here? And yeah, what you're describing, it sounds awesome. And you kind of said, where you have this bond that's based off experience. And like the one thing that I miss from my last long-term relationship, my only long-term relationship really, is like there was one person in the world that understood me. You know what I mean? We'd shared enough by that point that like we knew the same references, and there's still times that I'm like, damn, nobody understands me. I don't have that person, and that's the biggest thing that I miss. So for all the hard times, that is really something special.
right. Yeah, no, true, 100%. Um, yeah, and it's not easy. It's not easy to find, and so yeah, I think that is a special thing. And in terms of you know going on from, just being in that relationship with another person and expanding into, a family with children or whatever. That's a whole nother level of something I've never experienced before. And there's a thrill of it, I guess, before it happens, and I guess maybe you would be able to speak on it better than I would, but I would think that there's a thrill of it after the fact too, and I can only maybe imagine like how special that would be.
Yeah, I think the way that I would quantify or like classify the thrill is like nobody ever. I mean, people say things change fast, but it's always been my structure that I would be away for Ella for a couple days when I'm driving or whatever. And up until the point that she was well into her third year, after 2 days, she was a different person. You know what I mean? Especially when she's really young, but even at like 2 and 3 years old, after 2 days of not seeing her, something had changed that I could pick up on. And for me, that was just a really good reminder of how much is changing with all of us. It's like not only has she changed, I've also changed. Not probably not as profoundly, but that to me has been kind of the imminent surprise of this person becoming a person and realizing I don't have control. You know what I mean?
Right.
It is. I mean, it is a wonder. It's just a wonder, and I think that I feel grateful that like Ella's a person. You know what I mean? I happen to be her dad, but she's her own person, and for the most part, I'm okay with that because I realized like. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. If you decide to do that, yeah, there's some thrill to it. I got one last question for you. Then I'm gonna get going because I need to get some fresh air. But me and you have shared a lot of humor, and you are a guy that I feel like you're a pretty humorous dude, and I think I'm interested like, what's the role of humor, both from this animal brain society, whatever. Like, what is the laugh? What does it do?
Oh man, for me, I think the laugh is just like it's one of like the most, for me personally, I get is like one of the most incredible and like rewarding experiences one could have. It's just like having one of those really gut busting laughs, and it's just like it releases something in the mind, and it feels like almost enlightening, and after the fact, it's just, oh man, I'm just like, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. And yeah, I guess I've been fortunate enough to have a good amount of those laughs. So I kind of know I can relate to that feeling pretty quick.
Yeah, it's another practice, dude. Isn't that the crazy thing? It's like you get into a mode, like you kind of practice and it comes easier.
Yeah, true. We with Max and one of my friends, Andrew, from Yellowstone as well. We went on a camping trip one time, and we, on the way out to the lake, we listened to this podcast by Alan Watts.
I love Alan Watts. Yeah.
And he talks about this monk ritual about waking up and just like hysterically laughing, and so and in the podcast he just starts to laugh, and he's just like and just like starts bursting out into like this giant laughter, and then we notice we're all laughing as well, and we're all just like he just started to like essentially like fake laugh, he wasn't laughing at anything, and he was laughing so hard, we were laughing so hard, and like we're laughing so hard we're just crying. And so we had continued this practice throughout the entire weekend, and we're just like three dudes in a kayak in the middle of this lake just laughing hysterically. And then like unfortunately once you start to get into this rhythm, you can't stop. And we know that like people at other campsites are just like, these guys are insane, like but it was just like, it was one of the best weekends that I ever had in Yellowstone, and it was and it was contagious. Just starting a laugh and just like seeing other people laugh is just like it's contagious, and it's just such a good feeling, and it's pretty easy to spread. And yeah, I think well, I guess, yeah, lucky for me, I have had that ability to practice this enough, and being in a country where there's a lot of language barrier. There is always something to be said that where you can share a laugh. Where even if I'm personally lost in a conversation, or if I'm speaking English with somebody else and there's someone who doesn't speak English and they see us laughing, you can still share that laugh, even if there's even if you don't really understand what's going on. Like, so yeah, it's a pretty special thing, I think.
It is a pretty special thing, yeah. And I just think, Alan Watts, I mean, I just think if you were to meet somebody that was enlightened, I think about this concept of enlightenment. I feel like the signature would be laughter. You know what I mean? I feel like the laughter would just be all over the person's body and face and countenance and everything else. It's like, that to me is kind of where enlightenment is. And yeah, I mean, I hope you can share that with your fiance as well. I feel like that's one of the biggest elements of being in a relationship. But for me right now, it's like, dude, I get together with Jimmy C once a week and we talk every day, and like a majority of what we do is just laugh and like build laughs, and it's just such a benefit. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
To get to the practice that I can be in the truck by myself, just busting out laughing, and one thing I've thought is like, dude, you can't, like, laughter is radical, man. If you're trying to control people, you cannot control people that are laughing. I'm sorry, you cannot. You cannot wrest control over people who are laughing. And everybody else in the campground's probably like, dude, these guys are at another level. Like, we got no control over these motherfuckers. And that's scary, dude.
I've that's what you're saying about, like, in the truck. Like, I've had some of my best laughs, like, just alone, and that maybe sounds insane, but it's I think that's also like it's also important to be able to have those laughs, and then just with yourself, and to let your mind wander into some some goofy place, and yeah, it can be pretty incredible for sure. Yeah. Oh man.
Absolutely, man. And I will say one thing that I appreciate about you, like I said, when you called me at that moment where I'm being crushed by fear, which still does happen, I don't want people to think it doesn't. Like, just that countenance, even over the phone, even this conversation, like, I can't wait to get back with you and laugh again. Wherever it is, at some point I'm gonna have enough money to take a trip. Maybe I'll track you down, or if you're back in the States, like, I can't wait to see you and share the laugh, man, because that's what we've done, and I love you for it, man. And I'm really, really appreciate you sharing your insight on here, man.
Dude, yeah, the exact same. Like, I've watched a good amount. Actually, I might have even watched all your videos that you put out there, and I'm just like, I have that same feeling. Just like, man, so hopefully sooner than later I can get back, and we can get together and share some of those laughs, because just like, I know when you guys are making those videos, that's just like, there's got to be so much laughter in that. Oh man, it cracks me up, and yeah, it's definitely enjoyable. So yeah, that's I'm really hoping to get that experience sooner than later, man.
We'll see, man. Maybe it'll be here, maybe it'll be there. But I hear your dog barking. I got to go to the bathroom, man, and I'm gonna hop off. But thanks a lot, dude. I really appreciate it. I've been excited about this since you called. So I love you, man. Safe travels, and let me know when you're back around, and I'll let you know next time I have the money to take a trip.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I love you too, man. Take it easy.
All right, peace out, bro.
All right, peace.